My mom tried to put my newborn son up for adoption because she thought he'd steal attention from my sister's upcoming wedding. I took her to court. My sister's getting married at the end of the year, and I gave birth to my son about 3 weeks ago. Everyone was happy for me, except my mother. I wasn't surprised since no one matters more to her than her favorite, my younger sister. I got pregnant long before my sister got engaged, and anyone with basic math skills could figure out I'd have the baby well before the wedding. My sister wanted a big, fancy ceremony, and she and her fiancé made it clear from the start that it would be extravagant. Still, just a couple weeks after the engagement, my mom came over in a panic, saying I needed to do something about the pregnancy because she didn't want to upset my sister. My sister and I aren't close. She's spoiled, and we haven't talked since our dad died a couple of years ago. The only reason I kept in touch with our mom was because of a promise I made to him to take care of her. He knew my sister wouldn't be able to handle it, and he was right. Even though my mom always favored my sister, I tried to maintain some kind of relationship with her, until she told me that my pregnancy would steal attention from my sister's big day. I explained nobody would skip the wedding because of my baby, and, besides, I wasn't even invited, just like she wasn't invited to anything in my life. We're not friends. I wasn't going to steal the spotlight because I wouldn't even be there. But my mom insisted I hide my pregnancy and child from the family and mutual friends so I wouldn't distract from the wedding. It was insane. We had a huge fight and stopped speaking. I felt bad breaking my promise to my dad, but she left me no choice. She was being completely unreasonable, and I was hormonal and exhausted. She didn't come to the birth. My husband called her, but she refused to come because she was with my sister. Honestly, even if she hadn't been, she still wouldn't have shown up. I was never her priority. If she could turn her back on her own daughter just because she thought I was taking attention from a wedding, I had nothing more to say to her. So we cut ties, and I was fine with that. My husband and his family helped with the baby, and that was enough. But a few days ago, she called. I didn't answer at first, so she started texting nonstop, saying it was urgent. I didn't want to talk to her, but I remembered my promise to my dad, so I picked up. And now I'm really glad I did. I found out my mom is in legal trouble. She tried to put my baby up for adoption without our consent. The adoption agency discovered everything. It turned out she committed fraud by contacting them and lying that she had power of attorney, claiming that my husband and I were court-declared addicts unfit to care for our child. Pretending to be the legal guardian, she tried to give my son away. But the agency quickly realized the documents were fake and shut it all down. Now she has to face legal consequences. She called me because she was scared. The agency had already notified her that charges would be filed, and she'd be served within days. She wanted to get to me first, hoping I'd somehow help her. She sobbed over the phone and begged, but I couldn't understand how she could expect anything from me after what she did. I get that she wanted my sister's wedding to be all about her, but trying to give away my child. That's disgusting and stupid because now even more attention will be on me. I'm suing her. When she finished her little confession, I hung up. I had nothing else to say. I didn't feel sorry for her. Honestly, I thought she deserved everything coming. Later that day, the agency contacted me themselves to explain the situation in full. My husband and I had already talked after the call from my mom, and once we got the official details, we agreed we would absolutely pursue legal action. The next day, we met with a lawyer and filed a civil suit. Hearings are coming soon, and given how serious this is, she's also facing criminal charges. There's almost no chance this gets settled quietly. Best case for her is a plea deal, but even then, jail is likely. She's currently under house arrest but still able to contact me, so she keeps messaging me, begging for help. At least she's apologizing now, saying she lost it because she was hurt I wouldn't hide my pregnancy and baby for my sister's sake. But she clearly knows how twisted that sounds. And honestly, I could have ignored all of this until she hit a nerve yesterday. She reminded me that I promised my dad I'd take care of her. That really shook me, because that was a private promise I made to him, and I didn't think she even knew about it. So yeah, I'm still suing my mother for trying to give my child away without my knowledge or consent. Before I get to the update, tell me in the comments, do you think I'm doing the right thing? Now, for the update, I've decided not to drop the civil suit against my mom. She deserves this. She created this situation and won't get a free pass just because I once made a promise. I took that promise seriously for years after my father's death, doing everything I could to honor it. But this is emotional manipulation at its worst, and I almost fell for it. Using my dad's memory as a defense? That's the lowest of the low. Some people criticized me for holding on to that promise for so long when it was obvious my mom never cared about me. I don't know if you've ever lost a parent, but it's incredibly hard. I lost my father to cancer, and I gave him that promise literally on his deathbed. Maybe some people wouldn't think much of it, but to me it was sacred. That's the only reason I put up with my mom for so long. But now she's crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. And now that I've made my decision, nothing is going to stop me. My husband agrees I'm doing the right thing. I'm not even asking for much, just that she repay me for everything I spent on her these past few years. I was the one taking care of her, since my sister never spent a cent on our mom. Honestly, she doesn't spend money on anyone but herself, so it's not surprising. That's probably why my dad asked me to be the one to look after our mother. But I don't think he could have ever imagined something like this happening. I'm sure he would forgive me. And even if he wouldn't, I still have to do this for myself. I've thought it through. Having to repay me won't ruin her. I know for a fact that Dad left her not only the house, but also a sizable amount of money. She'll manage. Plus, she has a brother who can take care of her now instead of me. And if she actually loses everything because of this lawsuit, that's no longer my problem. I did what I could, and it wasn't enough. Honestly, I don't think anything would ever be enough for her. I'm done being the good daughter. I'm a mother now, and my son is my only priority. Update number 2. It's been a few weeks since my last update, and we're currently in the negotiation stage because everyone's trying to settle the civil case without going to court. So far, it's not going well. Every session ends in chaos because my mom either screams or causes some kind of scene. I don't know if it's a tactic or if she's genuinely losing it, but either way, all she's doing is delaying the inevitable. I don't think she even realizes she's out of options. My uncle also reached out to me, trying to convince me to drop the case. He said the amount I'm asking for is too high and unfair. He also reminded me that Mom raised me, and that I'm an ungrateful daughter for not being able to forgive her one mistake. But here's the thing, it wasn't a mistake. She forged legal documents. You don't do that in a moment of panic. It was clearly premeditated. And that's what's scariest, because if the agency hadn't done their due diligence, she might have gotten away with it. The more I think about it, the less I feel like forgiving her. Honestly, no amount of money could make this right. And really, I'm being generous. I'm only asking for what I spent on her. Not $1 more. That's not in the official documents, so my uncle didn't know that. Even when I told him, he still said I was being unfair. At some point, I got angry. I didn't want to fight with him. We used to have a good relationship, and I wanted to preserve that. But he ruined it himself, so I didn't hold back. I told him if he cares that much about his sister, then he can pay her settlement. That way we can wrap this up faster. That's when he started yelling, calling me names, and I just hung up. No point talking to him anymore. I honestly don't understand how anyone can defend her after what she did. Between my uncle pressuring me and my sister acting unbearable ever since she found out about the lawsuit, I'm exhausted. For some reason, my sister is painting me as the villain, saying I'm only doing this to get revenge on her and our mom for not giving me enough attention. At least my uncle had the guts to talk to me directly. My sister's just running her mouth behind my back. And that's exactly how the rest of the family found out about the whole court case. I never wanted this situation to become public. I didn't want to explain anything to anyone because it's very personal. I didn't think anyone else needed to be involved. But since my sister went around telling everyone, people started asking questions and reaching out to me. So even though I don't want to bring this up, I'm forced to respond. The only reason I'm doing this at all is because I might later need some of these people to testify in court. I just comfort myself with the thought that this would have come out eventually anyway, so better now than later. The problem is how my sister presents everything, as if I'm just bitter and vengeful, and that's why I took legal action. I don't even think she realizes how serious what our mother did actually is. This isn't some petty sibling feud that suddenly turned into a lawsuit or something like that. I honestly don't understand how someone can be that clueless and self-absorbed. But what can you expect? She's truly our mother's daughter. Third update. Hi. My mom agreed to our terms, and we're finally going to receive compensation. But aside from that, she's still under criminal investigation. She and her lawyer are doing everything they can to avoid prison time, but from what I know, things don't look good for her. I've already been called to testify for the prosecution, along with employees from the adoption agency. We'll see how this all ends. They also contacted my sister and several other close relatives. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and things have been going well in our family. We even managed to take a weekend trip with our son to visit his great-grandparents. Not my own, they passed, but my husband's grandparents. Thank God they're still alive. When we told them everything that's been happening, they said I'm doing the right thing by standing up for my child. I even confessed to them that I feel guilty about breaking the promise I made to my dad, but they reassured me that this isn't my fault and that if he were alive, he would have told me to do the same thing. That really brought me peace. I clearly needed a change of scenery because after that trip, I felt true relief. Everything that had happened before was exhausting and stressful. Sure, my mother and I had disagreements in the past, but nothing ever escalated to this point. Fourth update. It's been just over a month since the last update. My mom agreed to our terms, and a couple of weeks ago, we finally received the settlement money. We decided to put it away for our son's future because we don't really need it right now. We're happy because it's the same money I spent on my mom in the years following my father's death. In essence, we just got back what was ours. My sister knows this, but despite that, she recently came to me and started blaming me for ruining her wedding. Turns out, Mom had promised to pay for part of her celebration. And now, after I filed the lawsuit and got my money back, Mom can't keep that promise anymore. And of course, it's all my fault. It was madness. My sister came over to yell at me instead of asking herself how things got this far in the first place. When she showed up, I didn't even let her into the house. I spoke to her through the door. As soon as she started screaming, I slammed the door in her face. I didn't need any of this. I was already buried in work. Even though I was on maternity leave, I was trying to work from home so I wouldn't be overwhelmed when I returned to the office. Plus, of course, there's the child to care for. I had no time for drama at all. But even after I closed the door, she didn't leave. She just stood on the porch shouting about how unfairly she'd been treated. At some point, I'd had enough and called the police. A few minutes later, they were already there. As they were taking her away, my sister was screaming at me so loudly that even the neighbors, who were probably peeking out from behind their curtains before, came outside to see what was happening. I was incredibly embarrassed. She wasn't just swearing. She said a lot of disgusting things about me and my child. I won't repeat them, but they were disturbing enough to really shake me. I immediately called my husband and told him everything, and he came home earlier than usual. I told him everything she had yelled, actually threatened, while being dragged to the car. One of the police officers even suggested we file for a restraining order because it was obvious something was seriously wrong with her. We also think that's a good idea. I no longer feel safe. Looking back, it's obvious. My sister knows where I live and all the ways to contact me. If she decided to make my life miserable, it wouldn't be hard for her. I'm not saying she'll actually carry out her threats, but even without that, there are so many ways to intimidate someone. And I'm just scared, because now I'm a mother, and I don't want situations like this to happen again. After long discussions with my husband, we decided to move. I was already planning to change my phone number and all my contact information so that people I don't have a healthy relationship with couldn't reach me. And it's not just about my sister. I keep getting messages and calls from acquaintances and distant relatives who just want to gossip. I'm really tired of it. The last thing I need right now is visits from people who just want to dissect everything and point fingers. My husband is doing well at work, and if needed, we can always ask his parents for help. But we're definitely moving, and we're definitely filing for a restraining order against my sister, because she's clearly unwell, and I don't want her in my life anymore. We already have a ton of legal expenses. Plus, our son has a congenital condition, which isn't cheap to manage. Money's a bit tight right now, and moving will only make it more expensive, but when I think about my son, I know it's necessary. Honestly, I'm just exhausted. But my husband and my son are the only ones keeping me from falling apart and giving me the strength to keep going. I'm truly happy and feel incredibly lucky to have someone by my side who understands me so well. What's more, my husband's family has supported me from the very beginning. Honestly, after my dad passed, his relatives were there for me more than my own mother ever was. I know not everyone is lucky enough to have in-laws like that, and I'm very grateful. The past couple of months have been a nightmare. I really hope it's all over soon. Fifth update. Hi! Last week, the verdict was finally reached in my mother's case. She was found guilty on all counts. Since she had no prior convictions, she was sentenced to a hefty fine payable to me and the adoption agency, as well as mandatory community service. She managed to avoid prison, but the court ordered her to undergo therapy and a rehabilitation program, as her lawyer portrayed it all as a result of psychological issues. We haven't spoken since she agreed to the terms of the civil lawsuit, and we reached a settlement. I learned about the court's decision from several relatives, and I think it was fair. I also successfully filed for a restraining order against my sister, so that's another victory. We're currently in the process of moving. Yes, it's a bit stressful, but we're managing. With the money we're about to receive, we won't even have to ask my husband's family for help or touch the savings we've set aside for our son's future. Things have turned out in our favor. Even though my mother avoided prison, her personal life has clearly taken a hit. I heard some gossip and even received screenshots of a recent post my sister made on social media. In it, she distanced herself from everything our mother did, claimed she only just found out about it, said she didn't approve, and that our mom deserved the verdict. But before everything fell apart, she was totally on her side. I'm sure she only made that post because of pressure from her fiancé and his family. They were clearly uncomfortable with the idea of him marrying into this mess. They even considered postponing the wedding, so my sister decided to publicly disown our mother. Do I feel sorry for our mom? No. She lived her entire life for my sister, And this is what she got in return. It's sad, but it's fair. I don't feel a shred of sympathy. Now that we're moving, I'm planning to completely cut ties with all of these people. Honestly, I can't wait for that moment. Well, that's the end of the story. Share your thoughts in the comments. In my opinion, the author did the right thing 100%. The mother absolutely deserved this punishment. What do you think? I'd especially like to hear from those who might disagree, because there are always two sides to every story, and they're often not obvious. Thanks for watching the video to the end. Check out our previous one right here. Good luck to you all.